Good evening, everybody. My name is Jen, the Caffeinated Crafter. Today is Friday, June the 6th, 2025. Welcome back to my Flosstube channel. If you're new, welcome. This is a channel where I talk about all the cross stitch, and if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and following along in my journey. Here's Gracie Lou. It's your fault you walked up next to me. So I have a lot of stuff to show today. I mean, kind of a lot, but not of a lot. I had some new starts again. And I'm changing my plans up again. Shocker, right? Oh, it brings back memories. Of a couple years ago when I changed my plans like every week. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We're gonna get into, we are going to do my whips. I'll show what new starts I did. I just started them. I'm not gonna like put them into my rotation. And then we'll update boards, do a round of Monopoly, and kind of go over after the Monopoly round. I'll show those projects and also how I'm changing my plans. Okay. If you hear any background noise, I did tell my kids, I have my kids an extra week. They're supposed to be back with their dad today, but I have them an extra week because he's going somewhere next week. I don't know where. So he was like, can you keep the kids another week? Whatever, fine, that's fine. So they're in their rooms. I said, please try to keep it down. Don't be so loud, because my older son's room is right there. My younger son's room is right there. So, okay, here's my board. So I got both my Monopoly pieces done. I really need to get a red marker. I'm used to my numbers being in red here. But I worked on 7 different projects, really just 4 that weren't like kind of like the ones that stay out, like the quote unquote focus pieces. And my whip into shape and my whip into shape and my whip of shame are both like a little bit behind, but no worries, I'll catch up. But yeah, these last 2 were both new starts for me this week because I wanted to. I'll tell you why I did too when I get to them. But anywho, let me just rearrange. Okay, so we'll do the Monopoly stitches first. First one I'm going to show you is the one for the dog, and this is because he is in jail right now, and he did not roll doubles last time to get out of jail, so I had to do 200 more stitches on my jail piece. This is Rocky Point, and this is a Dimensions Gold collection. Artist is James Hemsworth. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. And I'm doing this with everything that came in the kit. So it's a 18 count ivory Aida. Yeah, 18 count ivory Aida. Oh, I forgot my board. I think I'll be okay. And that is where I got to with it. So last time I was complaining because I had like 4, I park my threads usually anyway, but I had like, oh my God, there we go. I had 4 parked threads in random locations when I showed this last time. So I got rid of 2 of them, and then I started working on a 3rd one here. This one's gonna stay here until I get down into the, why can't I grab these? This one's gonna stay here until I kind of get down into this rock area and figure out like exactly which color it is. But I worked a bit more on the lighthouse here, and I did some of the sky right there. So that's 200 more stitches on Rocky Point. And let's put those down there. The other one for Monopoly was for stay. The other one that I worked on for Monopoly, I want to say something landed on chance and had to do stitches on, where is it? I don't know. Had to do stitches on the boardwalk piece, I think. Nope, the cat purchased it. The cat landed on boardwalk and the cat purchased boardwalk for 600 stitches. And my boardwalk piece is the Stitcher's Paradise Cell. I had to think of the name of it. It's the Stitcher's Paradise Cell. This is from World of Cross Stitch from last year, I want to say. It is designed by Doreen Jones. That's what's going. Some of it's cut off because I printed a screenshot of the cover photo or of the whole thing. But I am currently up in that corner right there. That's part 1. So I'm currently in that little needle book area. And I'm doing this with the Call for DMC. I am really struggling with this today, holy cow. I'm doing this with the Call for DMC, 2 strands full cross on a 28 count, 2/2 on a 28 count white opalescent Lugana. And here it is. So I got my 600 stitches done. So I got, see, I did back stitching. See how pretty and sparkly that is? Wow. Ooh. I got the entire border stitched and back stitched. Obviously it's going to go all the way down, but for this part I got it completely done. I did all of the cross stitching over here. Gracie, stop it. I did all of the cross stitching over here. I brought this little border kind of over until the thread ended, and then I started getting the cross stitching done in this part here. So the next time this comes out, I will finish the cross stitching in this part and this part, back stitch all of this here. This right here is a needle that has some thread kind of going through it. And so this needs to be finished cross stitching here, back stitch this area here and here, and carry this up and over. And then part 1 will be done. So that's cool. Looks really good so far. It looks even better in the camera. But that's that. So like I said, I'm pretty sure this was from last year in World of Cross Stitch. And they had like a part every month. Okay, so that was my Monopoly stitching, which means we're gonna do a new round of Monopoly today. Okay. So next up, let's do, let me figure out my life. We'll do one of my wheel spins. So what I had done was, if you are new, I have a bunch of projects. I'll go over that later, but I have a bunch of projects, and I put the ones that are in my active rotation right now on a wheel. And I would spin, and whatever that spun, I would do some stitches on it. Ideally I was doing 500, but this particular project I'm doing a tent stitch, and we were doing a game on Facebook that I needed, when I do something in tent stitch, two stitches of tent stitch count for 1 full cross, and I did not have anything I could do 50 stitches on for the extra 100, so I just did 400. Even though I should have said that after I started showing this. But this project is Hiding Place, and this is charted by the Cross Stitch Studio. Artwork is by Abraham Hunter. And waiting, here we go. It is 869 by 583. It has 134 colors. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. I have the right hand, no, I have the upper left hand corner. I do have some stitches on it, but I counted over about 5 million times, so say a prayer for me that this all matches up. But I moved over to the upper right hand corner because I wanted to work from on a diagonal. And when I'm doing tent stitch, I like to do my diagonals from the right to the left. Okay, so I'm doing it 2/1 tent stitch on a 25 count, 28 count easy count Lugana. And that's where I'm at with it now. So as you can see, I am now working this in 2 diagonals. Instead of doing this diagonal and then doing 2, I just went ahead and started up here at the very top, and I converted it to 2. So that part of that diagonal is completely filled in. Which I like that I converted it to 2 because now it doesn't look like a big blob of brown and black. You can actually see some of the sky coming in over here now. So I did 400 stitches on this. Again, like I said, I was going to do 500, but I was playing a game on Facebook, and if something needs 100 stitches, you have to do 200 tent stitches. So that was 200, then 400, and I was only going to do 500, and I didn't have anything that just needed 50 stitches, so I was just like, forget it, I'm just doing 400. So I now have 12,285 stitches completed out of 506,627. I am at 2.42%. And just so that it looks like, there's the rest of the 12,000 stitches. That's the upper left-hand corner, for anyone who hasn't seen that. So, and the fabric is stained with raspberry tea. That was not on purpose. I was not trying to do a tea job. I spilled my cup, my giant 32-ounce fake Yeti cup of raspberry tea all over my project like 3 years ago. I just left it. I don't care. So, but yeah, so I'm now at 2.42% with that. Okay, next up is another wheel spin of mine, and this one is Cookie Time. And this is by Soda Stitch. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. It is 156 by 198. And I do have this in Pattern Keeper. It's just doesn't have the back, like I have to pull up the PDF to look at the back stitching. So let me just find it so I can give you my total percent. Here we go. Okay. So I'm doing this with the Call for DMC 2/2 full cross on a 28 count white monaco. Hang on, I dropped something out of here. It just clicked in my head. I'm putting stuff in my lap and it's falling out of my lap, and I couldn't figure out why, because that's usually what I do. I'm still wearing my work pants because I got off work just like maybe an hour and a half ago. And my scrubs are like the moisture wicking polyester-y type. They're like very soft. So stuff is just sliding right off of my lap. So anyway, 2/2 full cross, 28 count white monaco, and this is where I got to with it. So as you can see, I got some back stitching done on the candy jar. And so all I have left in the jar is I need to finish the cross stitching here and this bit here, and then I can finish back stitching it, and that candy section will be done. So the stitches, the stats I'm about to tell you are not including any of the back stitching I've done. I have 2,122 stitches completed out of 15,173. I am at 13.99%. I did not realize it was 13.99% until I decided I was done stitching. I got 500 stitches on this. Could I have done one more stitch, 2 more stitches, 3 more stitches to make it 14% even? I could have. Did I do it? No, I didn't, obviously. But next time this comes out, I will continue working on that candy jar to get it done and then figure out where I'm going to go from there. So, next up is going to be, let's do my new starts. Okay, so I had been really wanting to start this pattern for ever since I got it. I had been thinking about it, and finally I was like, you know what, I completely crashed out my plans, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do it. And this is Rambunctious Raccoons by Glendon Place. It's baby raccoons wearing pajamas in a tree. How cute. And there's a squirrel in the tree with them. But how cute are they? So Rambunctious Raccoons by Glendon Place. My mom bought me this for my birthday. One of the many things she bought me for my birthday. She even got me the fabric I put it on. And I'm doing this with the call for DMC. So some of Glendon Place's patterns call for like silks or like petite treasure braid or cryonic and beads. This one is just DMC. I'm doing it with the call for DMC 2/2 full cross on a 28 count Lugana in the color Oxygen by Atomic Ranch Fabrics. And that's where I got to with it. So I started in the middle of the pattern. So this is in the tree, and I was looking, I was like, oh, I could work my way up and get to a raccoon. So that's what I did. So I worked my way up with this, with the tree. This is the end of the tail, and this is one of its little paws, both of its paws. One of its paws sticking out, and that is the start of the raccoon's head. It's sleeping. It's so cute. So it's that one right there. So if you can hear that laughing, that would be my teenager. I don't think he realizes how loud he is. He's playing on his PlayStation with his friends. So when I had pulled that out, I realized that I had another pattern in that bag with it, because I was like, I realized, look how big this piece of fabric is, right? That's the, like, it's a big piece of fabric. I obviously don't need this entire piece. I was like, oh, I can put another piece on that. And I had gotten this other one from my mom for my birthday. Outrageous Owls, also by Glendon Place. This one also just calls for DMC. And I was like, you know what? I may as well start this too. So I started one day and I started this one the next day. So this is Outrageous Owls. As I was stitching it, I realized that the color doesn't quite match up. So this owl right here is where I started, and you're going to notice a difference when I show this. It works. It all goes together. But again, 2/2 full cross on the 28 count. It's, again, if you forgot, it's Oxygen by Atomic Ranch Fabrics. So I did 506 stitches on him because I wanted to finish the thread I had. But as you can see, those colors do not, that owl is that owl. They do not match up whatsoever. I mean, these colors go together. It's perfectly fine. I don't mind the green owl, but it is not the owl that's in the cover photo. It's not the same colors. And I double checked. I was chatting with Alara about this. I sent her pictures. I'm like, these don't match. And I want to say that the rest of them are fine, because I was looking at the colors on the, like I was looking at the symbol key versus comparing it to, you know, I was checking the DMCs against this. Everything else seems to be matching up. It's just that one owl right there is just, it's green. It's not like yellow brown, it's green. And so her and I both went and looked on Glen & Place's website, and there's no corrections. There's no acknowledgement that the colors are different. And I even did a search for the pattern, and looked at the color key, like, because if you go on there and you look at the patterns, it will tell you the floss list. And I even looked on there, and the colors I'm using are the colors online. So I don't know. Is it annoying? A little bit, because I was like, it really threw me off, but it's fine. The colors it works. So I'm just gonna roll with it. She said I could probably email her and go, like, she was thinking, Alara was thinking, well, maybe the cover photo got stitched and then, like, I don't know, maybe the person who stitched it did the wrong colors. Maybe she had these colors and the person stitched it these colors and she forgot to change it. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. I'm okay with it, but I want to stitch more on that before I email her about it, just in case there's other colors that are not the same. So anyway, I got those two starts. So 500 on the raccoons and 506 on the owls. And now I think my startitis is calming down. Okay, so next up, we're going to do my whip of shame. So if you are new, I have a few projects over 10, under 20, that are greater than 10 years old. They're very old, very, very old. And every month I have you guys vote on which one to work on for the following month. And I do 100 stitches a day, approximate to total. The plan is to do 100 stitches a day. Sometimes I have to skip and then I make up for it, you know, the next day or by the end of the month, to total that month's days times 100. So we are in June. So this month would be 3,000 stitches. And June's project is Goodnight Bears. And this is from Designs for the Needle. And artwork is by Fiona Jude. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. I'm using everything that came in the kit. So it's a 14 count white Aida. This project this week, I am a day behind, but that is where I'm at with it now. I did 460 stitches. So I did all up here. So yeah. So this will stay out and I'll make up the day that I missed, which was yesterday, because I was trying to get my Monopoly stitching completed so that we could do a new round of Monopoly today. So there's that. And then we're going to do my whip into shape. I got whip of shame and whip into shape. So I'm like getting them mixed up. So whip into shape is a challenge set by Andrew the Runner Stitcher. I will link his channel down below. I think it's in episode 45. He goes over the spreadsheet that he has, but he is training for a marathon at the end of August, and to help encourage him with his training, he created a challenge called Whip into Shape, and he has a spreadsheet that he has his training schedule on. And for every mile that he runs in his training, you do 10 stitches on a project of your choice. And so some people are doing projects that they think they can finish, or just something that they want to get a lot of work on. I opted for the latter. I just want to get work on it. And I could have picked something where I was going to get a finish, but I was like, nope, I really want to get a lot more work on this because this thing is huge. So my whip into shape piece is Catching Rays. This is charted by the Cross Stitch Studio. Artwork is by Abraham Hunter. It is 1200 by 900 and it has 134 colors. This is my biggest piece. It is over 1 million stitches. It's got 1,080,000 stitches. So for the week, I need to calculate out exactly how far I'm behind. I know how much I was behind as of yesterday because again, I stitched ahead one day, right? I was like, let me just do this. And then I was like kind of mentally tracking how much I'd stitched ahead so I knew what to deduct after the next day or whatever. But anyway, I didn't get to work on this yesterday like I wanted to because I was doing my Monopoly stitching. So, hang on. So I just got to figure out how much I still owe for Monopoly stitching, for whip and shape stitching. I do have this in Monopoly. This is my go piece. Like whenever someone passes go, I stitch on this as well. So hang on, it's a lot of fabric. I'm doing it 1/1 full cross with the call for DMC on a 32 count easy count Lugana. And this is where I'm at with it now. I have more stitching down here, but I'll show that in a minute. For this, this week, I have done just 200 stitches on it. That's it? I knew I was behind. Yesterday, when I looked, I think I was 88 stitches behind. And I got to see what today's is. I feel like I did more. So this week I did 200 stitches on it. I am now sitting at 28,000. Hang on, let me back up. See, this is everything I've done on it. I now have 28,623 stitches completed out of 1,080,000. I am at 2.65%. But this is where I'm at right now. That's where I'm working. Working on this 2 diagonals. So, yeah. And we're going to see a lot more progress on it this coming week because, well, if I do the stitches this week, I probably will though. Because like I said, this is my Monopoly piece. So whenever somebody passes go, I do stitches on it. And the cat is on boardwalk. So it's going to pass go. So this will get an extra 200 stitches in addition to my marathon stitching. So next up, my final whip is my focus piece for the year. And this is Honeymoon Sunset, also charted by the Cross Stitch Studio. I do have, if you're new, I do have other full coverages by other people besides Cross Stitch Studio. I really do. I know it doesn't seem like that right now, but I do. But this is Honeymoon Sunset, charted by the Cross Stitch Studio. Artwork is by Abraham Hunter. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. It's 869 by 649. It has 133 colors. I'm currently in this area over here. I've worked all over the place. I will show the whole thing at the end of the month. Okay, so I do have 2 before pictures to show you. So I'll just go ahead and show both of them now. But I'm doing this with the call for DMC 2/1 half cross on a 25 count easy count Lugana. And I'll show you half the project because I got the diagonal done, mofos, finally. So I got my diagonal done, finally. I'm working on this in 2 diagonals, but look at that. So pretty. We're just admiring it for a minute. It looks so good. And then I came back down. Look came back down and started on where am I? Oh, I started on this. So this is my next diagonal right here. So I got all that done too. So I did a total of 1,100 stitches. I am now sitting at I am now sitting at 200, oh, you know what, I'll just do it like this so you can see that side too, if you've never seen it before. Okay. I am now sitting at 245,271 stitches completed out of 563,981. I am at 43.49%, halfway to my goal for the month. My goal for June is to get it to 44%. There we go. Oh, arms are tired. So I'm working on it in 2 diagonals. My other pieces I'm working from the top down and working kind of row by row, it lessens my chance of messing up. But 2, it also kind of forces me, when I'm going row by row, kind of forces me to do those like ninja stitches where it's just like one color right there. Kind of forces me to do that, so I enjoy that. I like that part. But I decided to go from this one I had been going from the bottom up, and I decided to go ahead and do this set of diagonals from the bottom up as well, because I have so many parked threads that I didn't feel like dealing with that the next, trying to work from the top down. So I'm gonna do this one from the bottom up, but when I'm finishing a color, I'm not parking it this time, I'm ending my thread. So as these parked threads get worked in, it's gonna be filled in, but it's also not gonna have a bunch of parked threads, which park threads don't bother me, it's just messing me up when I want to work from the top down. So once this diagonal's done, then I'll probably go the next diagonal from the top down and do it row by row like I've been doing with my other ones. So, but I'm really liking how this is coming along. I'm very excited to get it to the 50% by the end of the year. It's gonna be very exciting. Okay, so let's go ahead and update these boards, shall we? I'm not going to put the raccoons or the owls on my big board just yet because they're not going to be going into any kind of rotation right now. So we'll just put those on later. So let's go ahead and get these boards updated. One of my kids opened up my door. And then go. Okay.
I just want to see.
Shh. All right, so let's go ahead and update these boards. So this one we only need to update Honeymoon Sunset. So I had 32,260. I did 1,100 stitches. So this is going up to 33,360. And my goal is dropping from 37,820 down to 36,720. And my percent is increasing from 43.29% to 43.49%. So yay! That's all I gotta do on that board. And then on this one, so this is my old temperature list. So I'm just working on these until I get their goals done, then they'll kind of come off the list. The two I have to update on here are hiding place. I did 400 stitches, so this is going from 500 to 900. And my goal is dropping from 1,500 down to 1100. And then the other one I need to update on here is Cookie Time, which is here. I did 500 stitches on that, so this is going up to 1,000. And my goal is dropping from 1,500 down to 1,000. So there's that. So that goal is about halfway done, so that's cool. Okay. And then I need to, Rocky Point is on this board. So Rocky Point, I did, I had 1,400, I did another 200, so this is going up to 1,600. And my goal is dropping from 2,600 down to 2,400. And then my Monopoly board that has all my properties listed, the one I need to update on here is, Boardwalk, way down here. So Boardwalk is Stitcher's Paradise Sale. I had 400, I did 600. So this is going up to 1,000. And my goal is dropping from 3,600 down to 3,000. So there's that one. And then my little board. So Goodnight Bears. I did 460 stitches this week. This is my first week updating this one. And my goal is dropping from 3,000 down to what? Quick, what is it? 2,540. And then my Catching Rays marathon stitching. So I'm tracking this stitching separate from Monopoly stitching. I did another 200 stitches for the marathon. So this is going from 953 to 1,153. So there's that. Okay, so I am going to break to a round of Monopoly and get those projects pulled, and then we're going to come back. I'll show you those projects, and we're also going to talk about the changing of the plans. No more and then. We're done with the boards. So let's cut to Monopoly. All right, so this is round 17 of Monopoly. I have all the tokens where they're supposed to be, and let's go ahead and get started. So I've got cat over here, dog is over there in jail, and the duck and the penguin are up on side 3 where they were last time. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oriental. All right, so the cat passed go and then landed on Oriental, which, checking to see if it's been bought. I have it all marked on paper over here. Oriental has been bought. It's owned by the Penguin, so it's going to pay rent, and Penguin's rent is 300 stitches. So we'll do 300 stitches on the on that property. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the dog, and I got to do 200 stitches on Catching Rays, which is my go property for pass and go. Okay, so now we're going to do the dog. So the dog is over here in jail again. Okay, listen, Remy, you are a good boy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Okay, this is the dog's final time to roll doubles to get out of jail. So if he rolls doubles, then we're just going to go. If he does not roll doubles, he has to pay 200 stitches Actually, he's got to pay the 200 for not rolling, and then 200 for bail. So he's got to pay 400 stitches to get out of jail. That's what I had said before. Okay. Son of a mother. Okay. Okay, so roll 3. No doubles. So it's 200 for the roll plus 200 for bail. And now he'll be out of jail. So the next time he goes, he'll be able to go. Okay. So let me move both of these guys because I gotta slide this board and I don't want them to fall. We're going up this way. So the duck is here and the penguin is here. So we're gonna roll for the duck. Okay, thank God. I thought he was gonna roll snake eyes and land on go to jail. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Community chest. I don't think we've had a community chest at all this game. What is it? What is it? Win a foot race and raise money for your local needlework shop. Advance to go. Stitch 200 stitches. All right, so we're going to slide down here to go. I dropped my pen in my excitement for community chest. So that is a lot of stitches on my go piece. I'm trying to think if, just give me a second here, because I didn't really plan that in advance. So, because I had said if someone lands on go, they do 400. But I think we'll just do the 200 stitches. No, because let me think for a second. Because usually, let's talk this out for a second. Because usually when a piece lands on their own property, they do 100 stitches, right? Like with the penguin last round, his chance piece had him advance to B&O Railroad and do 100 stitches or 200 stitches, and he owned the piece, so he did another 100, so that piece got 300 stitches. So really what I should do is do the 200. So he did the 200 for landing for the chance card, and then he did 100 for owning it. So really what I should do is I should do the 200 for advance to go, and then because he's technically landing on go, I guess I should do another 400. That's a lot of stitches on catching rays. But you know what? That's okay. It needs it. It's got like, 1,080,000 stitches in it. So, all right. So we'll just do that. It's a lot of stitches, but that's okay. Because if it was any other property, I would have said do that as well. Whoops. Okay. All right. So now we're going to come up here to Penguin, who's on B&O Railroad. 8. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another community chest. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's amazing. What's this one? A new start. This was from last year. That was last year. Because I'm using the same cards. Buy a few cookies from the bake sale. New start for 200. I suppose I should do a new start. Darn. Okay. Oh, you know what I could do? I could pick one of the new starts that I have right now and have that be, because what I had done, in case you're watching me for the first time, I started playing this game last year and I created all these cards last year. And so last year, when I had came across these new start cards, I wrote the project that I started on it so that I would know which one, if I came across this card again, I would know which one to put work on instead of just starting a bunch of new things. That's why that project is written on there. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to think about it. I'll either do another new start or I'll pick one of maybe my more recent new starts and do another 200 stitches on those. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do, which way I'm going to go yet. But if you're playing along at home, you can do it either way as well. You can either pick your newest project and do 200 stitches, or you could just do a new start for 200 stitches. But yeah, so that's all 4 pieces. So let's just recap real quick. The cat passed go, so that will get 200 stitches, and it landed on Oriental, which is owned by the penguin, so it's going to pay rent of 300 stitches on that piece. The dog rolled for the 3rd time to get out of jail. It failed because it's a failure. It's a bad dog. And so I got to do 200 stitches for the 3rd roll and then another 200 to post bail. So 400 stitches on my jail piece. And then the duck landed on community chest, and the card was advance to go and do 200 stitches. And I decided that since technically if they land on the go square, that my go piece gets 400 stitches. I'm going to do a total of 600 stitches for that. So that's technically altogether 800 stitches on catching rays. That ain't going to get done this week. That'll be over 2 weeks. And then the penguin landed on community chest as well. And it was a new start card. So I will either do a new start and do 200 stitches, or I'm thinking I might just keep out one of my new starts and just do 200 stitches on a new start that I've already started, like one of my more recent ones. I think that's what I'll probably end up doing, so because I don't like just doing 200 stitches on a project. I want to put in at least 400 or 500, so I'll probably just do 200 stitches on one of my new starts. Okay, so let me get these projects together and let's come back and talk about plans. Okay, I'm back. So we have a lot to go over regarding plans because I'm making some changes. But first, let me show you the stuff I'm going to work on for Monopoly. Okay, so the cat passed go, which means that catching rays, which, just a reminder, is my whip and shape piece. This one here, I'm not going to bother with the cover photo. I'm just going to, actually I should probably say what my starting point is, even though I said it earlier. So my starting point is that's the wrong project. This is just in case I need it as a reference. My starting point is 28,623 stitches out of 1,080,000. I am at 2.65%. So this is going to get a grand total of 200 for the cat, and then 600 for the duck. Yeah, 200 for the cat, 600 for the duck, for a grand total of 800 stitches for Monopoly, plus marathon stitching for whip into shape. So this is going to get some really, really good progress. I'm hoping to be down in this area at some point. But that's if I do my Monopoly stitching this week, which I might, because I'm going to talk about that when I talk about my plans. So it'll be 800 stitches plus whatever Andrew runs. So that'll be that. And then I don't really have like amount of project-wise. I don't have a lot for Monopoly to do this week. The dog, freaking dog. Oh, so the cat passed go and landed on Oriental. Okay, so the project I'm doing for that to pay rent is going to be Christmas reindeer. This is a kit from MP Studio. It's a Russian kit. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. I will go over fabrics and all that jazz when I show it. Like when I work on it. So if I don't get to it this week, I'll do it next. Or like next week, I'll do it the week after. But that's my starting point with it. So this will get 300 stitches because the penguin owns a crap ton of property. And so its rent is 300 stitches. Okay. And then the dog, freaking dog, rolled for the final time to get out of jail, did not roll doubles. So what I had said earlier, like at the start of the year, was that if they roll 3 times and they don't get out, they have to pay they have to do the 200 stitches for roll 3, and then 200 to get out of jail. So 400 stitches total because they got to post bail. So Rocky Point, this will end up getting 400 stitches. There we go. He is so loud. Can you hear him talking? My kid, I swear. Okay, so that is the Monopoly stitching. Oh, and then regarding that new start piece, I think what I'll do is I'm going to do an additional 200 stitches on Rambunctious Raccoons. Technically, the owls is my newest one, but I wanted to work on the raccoons. So I'll do 200 stitches on that. Where is it? Here he is. That piece there. Okay. And then I have my Whip of Shame and Honeymoon Sunset as well to work on. Okay, so let's talk about the change of plans. So I had a very multiple hour chat long with Alara a few days ago. And we were talking about, like, you know, she started it because she started talking to me about changing her plans. And then I was telling her about what I was kind of thinking about changing for my plans. And then I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do it now instead of waiting. So what I decided to do was for Monopoly, instead of having a whip, because I was telling, okay, so let me tell you why I'm changing my plans right now. The reason why I'm changing my plans up is because I right now am at the point where the amount of projects, I have 233 projects. Well, technically it's less because I'm counting all the ones that aren't started, but they're part of a series, like the Year of Gnomes or the Calendar Girls, where I haven't started them really, but I'm going to do them because it's all part of a series, right? So counting those, I have like 233 projects. That is a lot, I am aware. The amount doesn't bother me. That, like, I'm not worried about that. But what bothers me is that, like, I want to work on everything. Like, I want to work on this one, I want to work on this one, I want to work on this one. But I also want to see a lot of progress on everything. So what I decided to do was, I'm taking little bits from multiple different people. So for Monopoly, I originally had a project assigned to every property and a project assigned to all the corners. What I decided to do was I'm cutting down to one project for each color category. So like Oriental, Vermont, and Connecticut are all light blue. I'm having one project for all 3 pieces, all 3 properties. St. Charles, States, and Virginia, one project for all 3 of those. One project for all the railroads, etc., etc. And then I'm doing the jail piece is still saying the jail piece. And then the go and free parking and visiting jail, like when you're just going around the board, if you land on the jail spot, you're not really in jail, you're just visiting jail. That's all going to be one project as well. So what I decided to do was I'm leaving my current tracking boards the way that they are, because I looked at as I was looking, deciding which projects to pick, I looked at all of them, and in each section, I picked the project that had the most progress so far. Like for example, the railroads, I have 4 projects. I have Sea Turtle, which has not been worked on at all since we started playing this year. Stacked Teacups, which has 100 stitches. Mother Nature Christmas has 700, and Checking the List has 500. So for all of the railroads, Mother Nature Christmas will be the whip for those. I'm keeping all of them listed though, because I'm going to continue to work towards that goal of 4,000 stitches for them, right? And once Mother Nature Christmas has her goal reached, I'm going to take her off of the list, and I will replace her with Checking the List, which is 500 stitches. Once that one's goal is reached, then I will replace it with Stacked Teacups, and then with Sea Turtle, and I mean, you know, and then once that happens, then it would get replaced with something completely different. So as these projects hit their goals, they'll get taken off of the list, and they will get replaced with the next highest in that little group right there. Or if, like, you know, I happen, like utilities, Norwegian Quaker Flag has 400 and Reaching Skyward has 700. Let's say, for example, they keep landing on all the utilities and Reaching Skyward hits its goal, and so it gets replaced with Norwegian Quaker Flag, and that one hits its goal, then I'll replace it with one of the railroad pieces, like one of the railroad whips, you know, just to kind of get stuff moving a little bit faster, right? So that's my plan for Monopoly, is to keep those on the tracker so I can, like, you know, get them replaced, but cut down on the amount that gets. And of course, the one week I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. Only one of them. Only one. The rest of it's go. So Catching Rays will be stitched for. We'll get stitches for go, for free parking. Free parking stitches gets stitches from luxury tax and income tax, and then just visiting jail as well. So it's gonna potentially get a lot of stitches on it. I still have 2,000 stitches before it needs to be replaced, and then I will replace it with Dreaming of Autumn Leaves, which is the free parking spot that will take the place of Catching Rays. Okay. So what am I doing with the rest of my stuff, since I said I changed my plans a lot? Okay, so those who watched me last year, the year before, I think it was last year, when I said, it was last year, when I said I wanted to do categories, and I had all these big plans, and I was telling Alara when I mentioned categories, I was like, you remember when I was doing categories? She was like, oh my God. Where I had my stuff divided up into categories, and I was like working on different goals for each project based on what category they were in, and this, that, and the other. Okay, so I'm kind of doing a little bit of that, but if you have no idea what I'm talking about, do not go back and watch it. It was a crazy mess. I said it would have worked beautifully if I did not have as many projects as I do. It would have worked just fine if I didn't have 200 plus projects. So what I decided to do was I went through, and this is why it took forever, because I went through all of my whips and I divided them up into different categories. Again. But I only put them in one category. I didn't like, if it was a full coverage Christmas piece, I didn't put it in full coverage and holiday. I just did full coverage. Okay, so I have my Whip of Shame, right? I have my Whip of Shame projects. Those are a category by itself. And then I have quote unquote focus pieces, which are Honeymoon Sunset, and right now Honeymoon Sunset and Catching Rays, because Catching Rays is part of my marathon stitching, right? And then I have the rest of them divided up between, I combined 2 categories together so I would have more of a balance amongst all the categories. So one category is fancy stuff / stitch along. So it's anything like my fancy ladies, or something I consider to be fancy, or any projects I have that were like an official stitch along or start along. That wouldn't fall into a different category. Like Snape's Library technically could go into the stitch along category because I started that with Leanne from Small Town Stitches, but I'm keeping it in the full coverage category, just for example. But the other stuff, like the Haunted Library Sal from Lola Crow, that's in the Sal piece. Reaching Skyward, which right now is a Monopoly, but Reaching Skyward from Modern Folk Embroidery would be in the Sal category. My Mirabilities and stuff is in the Fancy Lady part of that. So full fancy lady or fancy stuff / Sal. The next category is seasonal, and that would be like any of my spring, summer, autumn, winter pieces, stuff like that. Not Christmas and Halloween. I mean like spring, summer, autumn, winter. And then the next category is finish the shit. That's all my small pieces that need to be done. So my calendar girls, my gingerbread smalls from Twin Peak Primitives, stuff like that. My small pieces that need to get done. And then I have non-full coverage, and that's like stuff that I couldn't really put into any particular category. Then I have holiday, which is focused on the holidays. So Easter, Halloween, Christmas, stuff like that. And then I have small full coverage, which is anything under 250,000 total stitch count. And then I have big full coverage, which is anything over 250,000 total stitch count. Then I have small-ish medium kits, so kind of small / medium kits. And then I have large kits, which are anything that's a kit that doesn't fit into my medium category. So what I decided to do was so I have those categories, right? I have them all divided up into those categories. But how I'm paring it down is I selected 2 projects only from each category. And my goal is to get, once I kind of get this worked in, which I'll explain in a minute, but my end goal will be to do 2,000 stitches on each whip. Once that whip gets the stitches done, I will replace it with a new one. How will I decide which projects to do? I have the categories on my wheel spinner on my phone. I will spin for the category that I'm gonna work on that day, and then I will just decide which one. So if I spin and I get holiday, then I would pick one of my 2 holiday pieces to work on, whichever one I felt like doing. And then once it got its goal met, then it will get replaced with another one in that category. So, which projects did I pick? How did I pick them? What'd you do? Are we adding to the active whip list? No, we're not. What I did was I looked through all of my active lists, like all those boards I just went through. I went through my temperature whips and my focus whips, and I pulled 2 projects for each category off of those 2 lists. The only one I had to pull off of Monopoly was one of my large kits. I had 2 projects for every category within my focus lists and my temperature whips. That's not too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do a quick run through of which one. So the one that I had to pull from my Monopoly list, these stitches will count towards that Monopoly. And so what I decided to do was, instead of just doing 2,000, when I pull these, they're going to continue to work to get these goals that are currently listed. Those goals will be brought down, and as those goals are met, that's going to come off the board, and I will replace it with, I'm not going to pull from my inactive whips yet until I can't pull. Like, I will keep pulling for the non-full coverage. I will keep pulling from that non-full coverage on my temperatures and my focus pieces until I don't have any more, and then I will start coming from my inactive whips. So like for example, my large kits, I have Oceans ABC and Christmas ABC, right? Those are my only 2 large kits in all of these in my focus list and my temperature list. Oceans ABC was on my temperature list. I had to pull Christmas ABC from my Monopoly list because I didn't have any other large kits. So once one of their goals gets completed, I will pull a large kit from my inactive list, unless I decide to look at my Monopoly list and pull from that instead. But I'll probably pull from my inactive list one of my large kits and do 2,000 stitches on that one. So real quick, my large kits. First one is going to be Christmas ABC. It's by DesignWorks. We're not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm just showing you which ones I have the options to pick from. That's my starting point with it. So this is in Monopoly as well, but it's not going to be part of my, I don't think it's not part of the active, my revamped Monopoly list right now. So that's the way that I'll get work done. And then the other one for the large kits category is Ocean ABC, also from DesignWorks, and that's what that one's gonna look like. And that's my starting point. So I have 18 projects total to pick from with these new categories. And then for the small kits, there are actually 2 starts, and they could go into finish the shit, but I decided to put them in small kits. Sugar Skull. There's my starting point. Because I didn't really have like a lot of small kits in my active whips, except for these 2. And I figured these would get worked on faster being in the small kits category than the finish the shit, because I have other projects for it. And this one is Spicy Disaster. That's my starting point for that one. And then the next category will be, this should be my big full coverages, yeah. Okay, so first one is going to be Winter Cookie Party. This is from Heaven and Earth Designs, if I can get my tablet to cooperate. What are you doing? My tablet froze up on me, hang on. One moment, please. Technical difficulties. Okay. Winter Cookie Party. By Heaven and Earth Designs. And that is my starting point with it. And then the other one in the large kit category would be, not that. What is it? Oh, hiding place. I was like, where did it go? Because it's over here. Because I worked on it before. Okay. Hiding place by Cross Stitch Studio. Just a reminder of what it's going to look like. That right there. And just a reminder of my starting point. This is where I'll be working from. Over here. All right. And then next up is the small kits, or the small full coverage category. So first one is going to be White Tiger Ghost, and this is charted by Cross Stitch Studio. That's what it's going to look like. I still have to frog. If you know, you know. I still have to frog the eye. That blue in the eye, still got to frog it. But that's my starting point. And then the other one is Cherry Blossom, and this is by Blue Fox Stitchery on Etsy. That's that one. And that is my starting point with that. All right. Next category is going to be holiday. And those two projects, first one is going to be Christmas Cupcake. And this is charted by the Cross Stitch Studio. It really sounds like all I have are Cross Stitch Studio charts, but I swear I have more. That's my starting point with that. No, that's what it's going to look like. And that when I show this, I'll explain how I'm working on it, why I have threads all over the place, but that's my starting point with it. Oh, they have a new one that they just put out. That's another Christmas cupcake, but it's got a Santa hat. I love it. I do have another cupcake that I haven't even started yet though. But it looks so good. Okay. The other holiday pattern, this one's on paper. This is Holiday Quaker by Lila Studio. And this is my starting point. The next category is going to be non-full coverage. First one up is going to be Sweet Bee. This is by Stitch Rovia on Etsy, also known as Emma Congdon. And this is my starting point with it. And then my other, I just realized that both of my non-full coverage patterns are bee themed. My other one is Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. That's funny. I just now realized that they're both bee themed. And this is my, that's where I'm working. It's my starting point. I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that by the time I get done, because I'm still, right now, I'm still going by the old goals that I have. So my goal was 4,000 stitches on my non-full coverages. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that by the time I get done, it will be down far enough that it could become like a finish that shit project. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then the next category is finish that shit. And the two projects for that, first one up is Calendar Girls October from Little House Needleworks. That is not the right month. Hang on. I'm looking for the month I'm working on right now. Where is it? Here it is. Calendar Girls October. And here is my starting point with her. I know you guys say it's just life, but I really hope my kids aren't too loud. Like, I kind of tune them out at this point, but it just clicked in my head. Sometimes it really gets on people's nerves, so sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? And then the other finish that shit project is going to be, oh, which one am I doing? Gingerbread Carousel. This is from Twin Peak Primitives. Carousel. This one down here. And that's my starting point with it. Okay, and then next category is going to be seasonal. So the first one is going to be Winter in the Village by Stony Creek Collection. And that's my starting point. And then the next one, I'm counting this in seasonal because I have one for every single month. The other one for seasonal is going to be my Year of Gnomes series. And I am currently working on June. And here is my starting point with it. And then the final category is going to be Fancy Stuff / Sal. And the two projects for this are both in the fancy stuffs part. But I do have Sal pieces I'll eventually start pulling into the mix. So my first one is going to be Mermaids of the Season, because I was trying to pull stuff from my current list, you know. Mermaids of the Seasons, I guess technically it goes into both sections. Mermaids of the Season Sal from Bella Filipina. This was the stitch along from 2023. So I guess it goes into both. It's a fancy lady and it's a stitch along. And that's my starting point. I don't have autumn started at all. I need to get that going. But yeah, summer, if you're just now, if you're seeing this for the first time, summer is not done. I just did 1,000 stitches on her, moved on to another mermaid. So summer is not done. Just don't get excited. And then final project. That's my fanciest one. I didn't even plan it that way. My fanciest one I'm showing last. I didn't even plan it that way. I got to show you a picture. It's my chatelaine. This is Deep Blue Sea by Chatelaine. I don't have a cover photo printed out. And one second. There's my starting point with it. I don't have any of the beads or the treasures. I just have the floss that I need for part 1, because this was something that was divided up in 2 different parts. Actually, I have all the flosses I need but one. I missed one of the dinky dies when I was ordering the dinky dies part. But I'll go over that later. So I still actually need that floss, but I don't want to order just that floss by itself. So I need to write down that floss name, and then that way when I come across other projects I need floss for, I can write down those flosses. That way I can just bulk order what I need. Not bulk, but that way I'm not ordering one skein of floss and that's it. So I'm not sure how much of the Monopoly stitching I'm going to get done, but I'm hoping to get a lot of stitching done this week, well, at least this weekend, because my shift in the ER this Saturday, tomorrow, got canceled because we were like pretty slow this week so far. And so they were trying to like be proactive about not being overstaffed. Money, right? So they canceled my shift on Saturday. So I have an entire weekend off. I haven't had an entire weekend off like 2 days in a row in months. I've worked at least one day every weekend since February, or part of a day, either a full shift or part of a shift. One day every weekend, sometimes both days. Well, not both days in a row. Sometimes I would do like Sunday and then work all week and then do Saturday. But yeah, it's the first time since February I've had 2 days off in a row. And then next week, I'm either only working a half a day or I'm going to be off the full day on Tuesday. My kids have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon. But because I have to drive from Brandon to Riverview back to like the Brandon Riverview border, because I have to drive from work to home, get the kids, drive back basically from here to here, get the kids, and then drive to here to the doctor. So their appointments are at like 4 and 4:15, but I have to leave work by 2:30 at the latest so I can get home and get them because traffic. But school's out. So traffic has been really good lately. Like I left work at 6:15 and I got home by like 6:40. So that's cool. Today I left work, it was really busy today. So if our float nurse that's been helping us out, she's going to be there on Tuesday anyway, because she's been picking up some days because our third nurse is out on maternity leave. So she's been picking up a few days a week. So she's going to be there Tuesday anyway, which is why I scheduled my kids' appointments for Tuesday, because she's going to be there regardless. And that way it wasn't going to be a big deal leaving the other nurse by themselves, because this float nurse is going to be there. And so I told my director, I said, she'll be there, so it's not a big deal if I leave at 2:30 anyway. I was like, but depending on how the schedule is, because there's been some days where it's been like pretty dead, where it wouldn't really justify having 3 nurses anyway, because we only have like 15 people scheduled to come in. So I was like, if it's around 20 or less, then I'll just stay home that day. There's no sense in me coming in. But if it's going to be really busy that day, then I'll go ahead and come in the morning, help knock out those morning patients, and then, but I got to leave by 2:30. So she said that was fine. So I guess I'll figure it out on Monday. I'll pull up the schedule for Tuesday and see how many there are. So yeah, I might actually have like a total of 3 days off this week. That'd be crazy. Craziness. Oh, so anyway, I'm hoping to get a lot of stitching done. Yay! And rest. I was like, my manager for the ER, she was like, I'm sorry I have to cancel you. I was like, I said, it sucks for my paycheck, but honestly, I'm not that mad because I'm so tired. She was like, I bet, because she knows I work in the clinic full time. She was like, yeah, I bet you are. She was like, get some rest this weekend. I was like, I'll try. So anyway, if you have any questions, so for my plans for what I'm stitching besides Monopoly, I don't know. I'm going to hit my category spinner and see what category comes up, and then I'll pick one of those 2 projects. So you'll see next week when I film. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. If you like what you had to see and you're not already subscribed, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. And take care, stay safe, happy stitching, get a lot of stitching in, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.